I had always believed my life would remain simple, a quiet routine of tinkering with engines in my modest workshop and sharing my supper each evening with my loyal dog, Max. My hands were rough from years of labor, my brow etched with lines that spoke of the simple but steady toils of existence. Even the folks in the small town where I lived, nestled between rolling fields and a winding river, knew me as James, just James, the old mechanic who could fix anything but never ventured far from home. I was content in that role for the better part of my life. Or so I thought. Beneath my unassuming exterior, there was a restlessness, a feeling that some forgotten chapter of my life longed to resurface. Little did I know how drastically everything would change one fateful evening, when a mysterious, blue-skinned woman appeared beneath the flickering street lamp and whispered words that would shatter my understanding of reality. I remember the day as though it were etched into my mind, which, as I would soon discover, it truly was. The late afternoon sun was dipping below the horizon, casting long shadows across my workshop floor. Max, with his shaggy coat and ever-watchful brown eyes, was lying beside the door, occasionally letting out a soft bark whenever a squirrel dared to scamper too close. I had just finished repairing an old pickup truck for a neighbor and was preparing to close up. Yet a sense of anticipation clung to the crisp air, and I found myself dawdling, gazing at the fading sky as though expecting someone. Or something. It was then that a soft humming sound, barely audible above the gentle breeze, reached my ears. I glanced around, certain for a moment that my hearing, battered by decades of clanging metal, might be playing tricks on me. But Max stirred, his ears perking, and he rose to his feet with a soft whimper. The humming grew louder, taking on a strange musical quality, like an otherworldly lullaby. My heart beat faster, my worn boots shuffling on the concrete floor as I moved to the open workshop door. The night was still. No cars rolled by on the deserted street, and the faint lights of the distant houses glimmered like stars on earth. But then, near a rusty street lamp that had seen better days, I spotted a faint glow. It was not the lamp itself, which sputtered with irregular flickers, but something else, someone else, standing so quietly I might have missed her altogether. She emerged from the shadows with an ethereal grace, her slender form draped in a shimmering cloak that caught the lamplight, revealing skin of a deep azure hue. A pale luminescence danced around her, and her eyes, large and almond-shaped, shone like silver coins. I felt my heart jolt. Never, in all my years, had I seen anything like her. Max let out a single bark of surprise, but did not approach. There was something regal, yet unervingly strange, about this visitor. The woman, if indeed she was a woman, lifted her gaze to meet mine. Her voice, when she spoke, was both soft and resonant, tinged with echoes of distant stars. "James," she said, "do you remember me?" Those words made my breath hitch. A memory I could not place tugged at the edges of my consciousness. How did this stranger know my name? And why did it feel as if I truly ought to recognize her? "I don't believe we've met," I managed to reply, my throat tight. Yet even as I spoke, a dull ache bloomed within my temples, stirring a fleeting vision of blazing skies and swirling lights. I pushed the vision away, unsettled, and forced myself to focus on the present. "Maybe you have the wrong man," I continued. "I'm just James, an old mechanic." The words felt like a strange defense, as though some deep part of me suspected that I was, in fact, far more than I claimed. She stepped closer, her cloak swishing softly against the asphalt, a gentle breeze lifting the edges of the fabric to reveal a slender figure clad in a sleek garment studded with tiny lights. "I have traveled many light years to find you," she said, her expression an odd mix of relief and urgency. "You must remember, the universe depends on it." A chill rippled along my spine. Though her features were foreign, her tone carried a haunting familiarity. "The universe depends on what exactly?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. "Why would you come here to me?" My dog, sensing the tension, stood by my side, growling quietly. Her silver eyes flicked to Max for a moment, then returned to me. "You are an ancient guardian," she replied, as if that alone would clarify everything. "I have awakened your memories before, though you chose to forget them again. But we have run out of time, James. We must rekindle your powers, or all will be lost." With that, she extended a slender, azure hand toward mine. Although alarm bells rang in my mind, some unspoken part of me yearned to grasp that hand. And so, in a single heartbeat, I did. When our palms touched, an electric current shot through my entire being, accompanied by a flash of white-hot light behind my eyes. I stumbled, nearly collapsing as a cascade of images flooded my mind. Battles fought amid star-studded skies. Planets consumed by swirling shadows. The roar of monstrous beasts that glided on cosmic winds, leaving trails of crimson light in their wake. My youth, energetic, unburdened by age, returning to me in rushing waves, as though time itself reversed. I gasped and withdrew my hand, but the flood of memories continued. My worn joints no longer ached. My frail arms felt invigorated, as if new life coursed through my veins. Max barked anxiously, circling around me, while the Azure visitor, her expression empathetic, offered her arm for support. "Easy," she murmured, her voice soft yet insistent. "We must do this gently. You have been dormant for so long that your body requires time to adjust." I tried to stand upright, blinking in disbelief at my own limbs. My skin, once wrinkled and marred by scars, appeared noticeably smoother, my posture straighter, my muscles firmer. I felt as though I had regained several decades of my life in the span of a few heartbeats. Through the swirling confusion, I managed to speak. "What are you doing to me?" My voice sounded steadier, stronger. I hardly recognized it as my own. Her lips curved into a faint smile. "My name is Aria," she replied, her tone layered with an ancient solemnity that belied her youthful appearance. "I am a sentinel of the Celestial Watch. My kind has witnessed the cyclical rise and fall of darkness across the cosmos, and we have labored to restore balance wherever malevolence takes hold. We discovered a hidden threat centuries ago, and it took everything we had to seal it away. You were one of our greatest allies, James. One of our guardians, a protector gifted with the power to wield ancient energies. We fought side by side, but your mortal form grew weary, and you chose to retire to this distant, peaceful planet, laying your powers to rest and erasing your memories so that you could find some semblance of a normal life." A jolt of recognition rippled within me. Vague echoes of lost battles and fleeting triumphs surfaced, accompanied by the memory of countless faces from distant worlds. I tried to speak, but words failed me. How could I have once been a guardian of the universe, and yet spent the last few decades fixing tractors and old cars in a sleepy hamlet? Aria watched me with quiet sympathy, letting me process the fragments of truth that were reawakening in my mind. Then the word void burst into my consciousness, like a dark star exploding on the horizon of my memory. I shuddered at the haunting connotation. The moment that unfamiliar word rose in my thoughts, visions of swirling darkness and ravenous shadows clawed at me. Aria's expression turned grave, as though she sensed the word's reverberations within my psyche. She nodded slowly. "The Void Hunters," she said. "They have broken free of the seal. They are corrupting the life force of distant galaxies, turning planets into barren husks and subverting all living energy to feed their eternal hunger. The Celestial Watch is scattered. Many have fallen. You are the last of the original guardians who remains, James. We need you. The universe needs you." The magnitude of her statement settled upon me like a heavy mantle. I looked down at my hands, no longer calloused in the same way, no longer trembling from age. Inside, I felt that old bravery stirring, the courage I had forgotten. A sense of responsibility, bigger than any single planet, began to churn within my chest. And yet, part of me quailed. I was just an old man only a few moments ago, accustomed to small-town existence, content to repair engines and watch the sun set in quiet splendor. Max let out a distressed whine, nosing at my leg as though urging me to respond. Ever loyal, he sensed I was changed. I gently ruffled his fur, drawing strength from his unwavering companionship, even in the face of cosmic revelations. "What must I do?" I finally asked, turning back to Aria. My voice was steadier, but behind my resolve was a flood of uncertainty. She extended her hand again, and this time, with less trepidation, I allowed her to grip my palm. "First," she explained, "we must fully restore your guardian essence. We will embark on a journey across the stars, to the ancient temple of Etherian, where your powers originated. Only there can you complete the rite to unlock your abilities again. After that, we join with other surviving allies in the cosmic war effort. The sheer scope of her words was staggering. Yet a flicker of exhilaration ignited within me, a spark that I realized had smoldered secretly for ages. I had lived quietly, contentedly, yes, but perhaps I was also longing for the sense of purpose I had once known. Without further hesitation, I nodded. Then we must go. But what about my dog? I can't leave Max behind. It felt strange, even naive, to ask such a question when the fate of galaxies was at stake. But Max had stood by me in every storm of life thus far. Aria's solemn features softened. Of course, the bond between you and Max is strong. If you wish him to accompany us, we will find a way. She raised her other hand, from which a shimmering disk emerged, pulsing with faint light. Stand close. This device will temporarily open a portal to my vessel. We haven't much time. I swallowed hard, my heart pounding like a drum, and gave Max a reassuring pat. Then, in a swirl of uncanny brilliance, a circle of light surrounded us, its radiance intensifying until the reality of my humble workshop faded away. The last thing I saw was the faint silhouette of that battered street lamp, flickering in the chill of the night, before we vanished from Earth entirely. In an instant, we reappeared within the strange confines of Aria's spaceship. It was neither large nor ostentatious, but every surface glowed with a soft, azure luminescence that called to mind an underwater realm. I blinked, trying to adjust to the new environment. The floors were made of a sleek, reflective material, and the air smelled faintly of ozone and a distant floral fragrance. Max let out a small bark, his claws skittering on the smooth surface, but he kept close by my side. Aria tapped a crystalline console with her slender fingers, and a soft hum resonated through the chamber, indicating that we were now in motion. There, she said, nodding to a window-like panel that revealed the starlit void beyond. We are en route to Etherian, though it will take time. The temple is located in a sector that was once under Guardian protection. I pray it remains uncorrupted. I stepped forward, awed by the vista outside. Constellations in unfamiliar patterns, star clusters shimmering in distant brilliance, and cosmic dust clouds swirling like wisps of violet and gold. A wave of wonder overtook me. Here I was, a mechanic who, mere moments ago, worried about the next day's tasks and whether I should fix old Mr. Carter's mower. Now, I soared among the stars, newly reawakened to cosmic powers I still barely understood. Aria joined me at the window, her voice almost reverent. "Have you remembered more of who you were?" she asked, her silver eyes reflecting the galaxy's splendor. I exhaled slowly, trying to gather my thoughts. "Glimpses," I said. "Strange battles, ancient rites, alliances with alien races. But it's all fragmented. I can't piece it together fully." My reflection in the window startled me momentarily. I looked younger, stronger, my posture straighter, my hair thicker, free of the gray that had dominated it for so long. It reminded me that I was no longer merely a simple, old mechanic. I was stepping back into a role that felt both astonishing and oddly familiar. She placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. "That's normal," she explained. "Your mortal mind suppressed much to protect you. Soon, though, we will reignite the guardian flame within you. Then you shall recall all that was lost and harness the strengths you wielded." Max patted around, sniffing at the glowing panels, occasionally letting out a curious huff. The corners of my lips curved in a tender smile. As surreal as this was, having him here grounded me. I was still James, in many ways, but with a destiny that stretched beyond Earth's boundaries. Over the next several hours, Aria and I conversed as the ship glided effortlessly through the cosmic night. She told me of the Celestial Watch's efforts against the Void Hunters, describing how these twisted beings thrived on cosmic energy, devouring the life force of entire planets. The Watch had once been a formidable legion of protectors, each planet or star system guarded by a designated champion. I, apparently, had been assigned to a cluster of inhabited worlds known for their spiritual attunement to the universal energy. We had succeeded for millennia, harnessing ancient powers that allowed us to repel the hunters each time they surfaced. But the void was patient. Over countless eons, they chipped away at the barriers we set, exploiting weaknesses, enthralling rogue species, and feasting on the outer fringes of existence. Now, with the seal broken, they swarmed anew, threatening to engulf the entire cosmos. The watch had suffered catastrophic losses. Only a handful of defenders remained, scattered across distant star systems, desperately rallying their forces. I listened intently, feeling my nerves hum with renewed vigor. How was it possible that I had once been at the forefront of such a monumental struggle? Could the same hands that deftly tuned carburetors truly wield cosmic energies against these monstrous forces? Even as doubt nibbled at me, a deeper pulse echoed in my chest, reassuring me that this was indeed my calling. Finally, after endless stretches of twinkling starlight, Aria directed the ship toward a swirling nebula in the far distance. Its vibrant ribbons of color shifted and coiled like living serpents against the black backdrop. My body tensed with anticipation, for something about that nebula tugged on the newly awakened corners of my memory. There, Aria said, pointing to a faint shimmer near the nebula's heart. Etherian. The temple is nestled within the protective gas layers of that cloud. It was built eons ago by the first Guardians to tap into the raw energy of creation. Some believe the universe's primal essence flows strongest here. She pressed a series of glyphs on the console, preparing the descent. A resonant hum filled the cabin as we descended. The swirling colors outside magnified, enveloping us in a luminous haze. It felt like plunging into an ocean of radiant smoke. Every fiber of my being vibrated, as if responding to a distant call. Max let out a little whine, unsettled by the cosmic turbulence, but I scratched behind his ears gently, hoping to soothe him. Aria's expression remained calm, yet her eyes glimmered with anticipation. As we glided closer, a gargantuan structure emerged from the nebula, its silhouette reminiscent of ancient spires rising toward unseen heavens. Pale lights flickered across its surface, revealing alien inscriptions and swirling patterns. A single, massive door stood at the pinnacle, sealed by an elaborate symbol that glowed with faint luminescence, pulsing in time with the cosmic tides. The Temple of Etherian was no mere building, but rather a living shrine of stone and magic, suspended amidst the swirling cosmic dust. We landed on a broad, circular platform that jutted from the temple's side. The moment the ship's ramp descended, I was struck by the overwhelming sense of familiarity, a kind of spiritual déjà vu. The air here, though still enclosed by the nebula, carried a mild, crisp quality, enriched with energy that tingled against my skin. Even Max sensed it, his ears perked, his tail lowered in cautious curiosity. Aria led the way, stepping lightly across the stone floor. Ancient carvings adorned the walls, depicting what I recognized as scenes of guardians standing against beasts of shadow, forging bonds with celestial beings, channeling streams of luminous power. My pulse quickened. In a flash, I recalled that I had walked this path before, countless centuries ago, though the details were fuzzy. I had come here as a champion in the prime of my strength, determined to defend the cosmos at all costs. "This place feels alive," I whispered, my voice echoing. As if in response, the temple's glowing glyphs brightened, guiding us down a winding corridor. The energy in the air became tangible, prickling against my newly invigorated senses. Aria placed a hand on the nearest wall, which rippled with recognition at her touch. "It responds to the guardian essence," she said. "Come, the heart of the temple lies ahead. There, the rite of awakening can be performed." She glanced at me. "And your memories, your powers will fully return." My stomach twisted with a cocktail of excitement and dread. It was one thing to witness glimpses of my past. It was another to surrender myself wholly to it. Yet, I knew there was no turning back. Not now, with the universe in peril, and this sense of purpose blazing so brightly within me. We proceeded deeper into the temple, following a spiraling walkway that descended into a central chamber. The design was reminiscent of a vast cathedral, with lofty ceilings and columns adorned by swirling lights. Strange blue fires burned in midair, dancing along invisible lines of energy. At the very center lay a raised dais, formed of glimmering crystal. My breath caught in my throat. I could see faint shapes coalescing around the dais, spectral silhouettes of guardians who once stood here, their faces obscured, yet somehow familiar. Aria gestured for me to stand on the dais. Max hung back, whimpering in concern, but I motioned for him to stay put. "It's all right, boy," I murmured. "This is something I must do." Even as I said it, my heart thudded. Before me, Aria took her position on the dais' opposite side, raising her slender arms in a graceful motion that caused the lights around us to intensify. "Close your eyes, James," she instructed. "Focus on the spark within your core. The temple will do the rest." Nodding, I shut my eyes, inhaling a deep breath. At once, I felt a surging resonance, as though the entire structure was responding to my presence. My mind exploded with images, fragmented shards of ancient battles, alliances, heartbreak, and victory. I recalled standing shoulder to shoulder with Aria and others, beings of various shapes, sizes, and colors, each one a guardian sworn to safeguard life. We had soared through cosmic storms, confronted horrors unimaginable, and emerged triumphant time and again. But there was tragedy too, moments of despair as we watched entire star systems succumb before our arrival. The weight of that memory pressed on me. My body trembled under the onslaught of these revelations, old wounds reopening in my heart. I saw the final, desperate stand, when we realized the Void Hunters were too numerous, too relentless. In a last-ditch effort, we managed to seal them away, but the cost was devastating. So many comrades lost, so many homes destroyed. I, near collapse, had decided to relinquish my power, my memories, and return to a simple life, seeking refuge on Earth. As the temple's energy surged within me, those memories no longer remained intangible echoes. They became real, undeniable, a tapestry weaving itself back into my identity. My veins throbbed with power that I recognized as my own, reawakened from its slumber. The sensation was equal parts exhilarating and terrifying. My body levitated a few inches above the dais, suspended by luminous force. Suddenly, arcs of brilliant light shot out from my hands, swirling around me, forging an aurora of raw cosmic energy. Aria's voice reached me, resonating through the haze of power. "Remember who you are, Guardian. James is both your mortal name and the mask you wore. But your true title is Terran Firebrand, the conduit of ether." The moment she spoke those words, a torrent of recollections rushed forth. Terran Firebrand. That was the name I had once carried into battles among the stars. The name that had struck fear into the hearts of the void. My eyes flew open, blazing with renewed vigor, and I descended slowly back onto the dais. My entire being buzzed with cosmic energy. I could feel the pulse of distant stars, sense the gentle hush of cosmic breezes. My limbs felt flexible and strong, my senses sharpened beyond mortal bounds. And yet, the memories of living as James were also intact, forging a curious amalgam of identities. I was Terran Firebrand, guardian of the Celestial Watch, yet I was also James, the gentle mechanic from a quiet earthly town. Those two halves merged seamlessly into one. Aria gave a soft cry of joy as she felt my energy stabilize. She rushed forward, placing a hand on my shoulder. Her eyes glistened with tears. "You're truly back. I can feel your power flowing. It's like seeing a long-lost friend regain his wings." For a moment, I stood in silence, absorbing it all. Then I exhaled a slow breath, letting the swirling lights around me settle. I remember now. Everything. My voice reverberated with that subtle undertone of cosmic resonance. I turned to see Max watching me, his tail wagging uncertainly. In a flood of relief and happiness, I crouched down, pressing my forehead gently against his. The dog seemed reassured, licking my cheek in a gesture of affection. A tremor ran through the temple. The ethereal flames flickered, the swirling lights dimming momentarily. Aria stiffened, her keen senses alerted to something amiss. Before I could ask, a low roar echoed through the ancient corridors, as though some monstrous entity prowled the temple's perimeter. My newly enhanced perception told me that we were no longer alone. "The void," Aria hissed, her expression darkening. "They have discovered us. Or perhaps they laid a trap, anticipating that a guardian would return here. Either way, we are in immediate danger." Without hesitation, I stood, cosmic energy sparking in my palms, ready to defend this sacred place. "Then let us not keep them waiting," I replied, the timbre of my voice crackling with renewed confidence. I could sense them, emanations of malevolence creeping through the temple's corridors, shadowy tendrils searching for a way to devour our light. We moved as one, Aria and I, stepping off the dais and into the corridor from which we had come. Max trotted beside us, unsettled but determined not to leave my side. The corridor, once softly illuminated by the temple's guiding glow, now shimmered with flickering shadows. Faint shapes writhed along the walls, as if the ancient stone were infected by living darkness. Around a bend, we found them, half a dozen void creatures, gaunt silhouettes with elongated limbs, their eyes vacant holes, their forms dripping with inky darkness. They hissed at our approach, their bodies contorting as though they were part liquid, part nightmare. Once, these beings had haunted my dreams, a memory sealed away. Now, faced with them in waking reality, my heart pounded with the raw fury of regained purpose. Aria lifted her hands, and arcs of blue light crackled around her fingertips. I raised my own arms, calling forth the newly awakened guardian energies. A swirling aura of golden-red flames spiraled around me, illuminating the corridor in an otherworldly glow. The void hissed in unison, and then they lunged with startling speed, tendrils thrashing toward us like living whips of darkness. Our powers collided in a dazzling display. Aria's azure bolt struck two of the creatures, sending them reeling back, shrieking in rage. My fiery aura roared to life, manifesting in swirling orbs that I flung at the others, scorching through their shadowy essence. Max barked and darted behind us, but refused to flee, his loyalty a testament to the bond we shared. For a moment, it seemed we might prevail easily, but the void was cunning. One of the creatures, flickering in and out of focus, slipped behind me in a swirl of darkness, lashing at my side with a barbed tail. I grunted as pain seared through me, stumbling forward. The aura around me wavered. Instantly, two others converged, their darkness converging in an attempt to snuff out my light. Aria cried out, unleashing a powerful wave of force to keep them at bay. My chest tightened with determination as I channeled renewed energy, fueling my fiery aura back to life. An image of Earth, a memory of my quiet life, of the people I had come to know, blazed across my mind, reminding me why I had chosen to stand again, even after centuries of slumber. With a defiant roar, I unleashed a torrent of swirling flame, an elemental storm that surged down the corridor. The impact tore through the void ranks, disintegrating several of them into nothingness. Their anguished screeches echoed off the temple walls, then abruptly ceased. Gasping, I pressed a hand against the wound at my side, which oozed a thin line of dark fluid mixed with shimmering energy. Aria rushed to my side, her expression crestfallen. "They're getting stronger," she whispered. "Or perhaps they have adapted since our last battle. The corruption runs deeper now." "I'm fine," I managed, though I winced. Already, my guardian abilities were working to heal me, sealing the wound slowly. "Let's keep moving. We must not let them infect the temple's core." She nodded, understanding that the rite was only the first step in reawakening me. Protecting this sacred place was paramount if we hoped to prevent the void from corrupting the source of guardian power. We pressed on, navigating the ancient corridors that twisted like a labyrinth through the temple's interior. Occasionally, we encountered pockets of void creatures, which we dispatched with careful teamwork. The deeper we went, however, the more oppressive the darkness seemed. It clung to the walls like living tar, seeping in from cracks and crevices. My sense of direction wavered, but Aria guided us, following the temple's faint pulses of light. Eventually, we emerged into a vast chamber lined with pillars carved from luminescent stone. At its center floated an enormous crystal, the size of a small house, suspended in midair by invisible forces. Wisps of radiant energy radiated from the crystal, forming an intricate lattice that extended to the chamber walls. I could sense it immediately. This was the temple's heart, the source of the Guardian's bond to the cosmic energies. But we were not alone. Hovering just before the crystal, a tall figure swathed in living shadow waited for us. Unlike the lesser void creatures, whose forms were bestial and warped, this one possessed a sinister grace, nearly humanoid in shape, with elongated limbs and a head crowned by twisting black horns. Its eyes gleamed a malevolent crimson, full of insatiable hunger. I felt the raw malice emanating from this being. It was far stronger than the creatures we had faced so far, a void lieutenant perhaps, a harbinger of the chaos awaiting the universe. I braced myself, summoning the guardian energy once again, and Aria followed suit. Blue and gold flames danced around us, crackling with cosmic intensity. Max let out a guttural snarl, his stance protective. The lieutenant's lips curled into a twisted grin. "You have returned, Terran Firebrand," it rasped, its voice echoing with malice. "Such folly. Your precious temple shall fall. Your star-forged powers are dust on the cosmic wind. The void is eternal, and it shall devour all." "I have heard that threat countless times," I replied calmly, though my heart hammered. "And yet I stand. I always will." With that, the battle began. The lieutenant struck first, raising a clawed hand that summoned a vortex of darkness. The swirling shadows lurched at us, howling with spectral voices. Aria and I leaped aside, returning fire with dazzling arcs of energy. My power, still recovering from its centuries of dormancy, struggled to sustain the might I once wielded. Still, I refused to back down. Gritting my teeth, I hurled blasts of flame that collided with the vortex, creating bursts of light and shadow that lit the chamber like fireworks. Aria unleashed a blade-like stream of crackling azure light, which tore through the lieutenant's defenses, carving a sizzling line across its chest. The creature hissed in fury, momentarily staggering. Sensing an opportunity, I dashed forward, forming a spinning maelstrom of fire around my fists. With a resounding shout, I landed a blow that erupted in a torrent of golden flames. The lieutenant screeched, reeled back, then retaliated with a barbed tendril that slashed my arm. A vicious back and forth ensued, each blow from us countered by the void's savage resilience. The lieutenant's roars reverberated off the crystal, threatening to shatter its delicate lattice of energy. One misdirected strike from me sent a wave of scorching light crashing into a pillar, causing cracks to spiderweb across its surface. I ground my teeth. We needed to contain this battle or risk devastating the temple we sought to protect. Beside me, Aria clenched her jaw and focused her power, channeling it into a shimmering orb that floated between her palms. "We must seal it," she called to me above the fray. "Together, combine our strength." I recognized the technique she spoke of, an advanced guardian bond that allowed multiple defenders to channel their essence into a single, potent attack. The memory of using it in past battles flickered in my mind. Without hesitation, I joined her, concentrating my fiery aura. The flames spiraled from my hands into the gleaming orb in her grip, merging with her blue radiance. A brilliant sphere of swirling gold and azure coalesced, humming with raw power. Seeing this, the lieutenant howled in alarm and rushed forward, determined to stop our combined assault. Darkness gathered around its limbs, forming razor-sharp spines. But Max, with a burst of surprising courage, lunged at the creature's leg, distracting it for a crucial instant. I felt a surge of gratitude for my faithful companion as the lieutenant stumbled, snarling. "Now," Aria shouted. We unleashed the orb, sending it hurtling across the chamber with a crackle that shook the foundations. The lieutenant raised its arms in a desperate block, but the orb slammed into it, erupting in a blinding flare of celestial light. The void's agonized scream tore at my ears. There was a final surge of pressure, then a deafening silence. When the light dimmed, the lieutenant had vanished, leaving behind only fading motes of darkness that quickly evaporated into nothingness. Panting, I sank to one knee, pressing a hand against the floor. My body ached from exertion and the lingering sting of void venom in my wounds. Aria knelt beside me, placing a steadying hand on my shoulder. "We have driven it away for now, but that was just one of many," she cautioned. "They will return in greater numbers." I nodded, slowly rising to my feet, my determination renewed. "Then we shall be ready. The universe will not bow to their tyranny. So long as all guardians stand vigilant, we shall see the void cast out once again." Even as I spoke, I felt the temple's energy resonating in agreement, reassuring me that our victory, fleeting as it might be, had safeguarded this sacred place for the moment. Max trotted over, tail wagging, his jaws parted in a wide canine grin. I knelt to praise him, grateful beyond measure. He had risked his life as surely as any warrior would. Aria observed us with a compassionate smile, a faint tear glimmering in her eye. It was a moment of unity, the bond between mortal and guardian energies, anchored by loyalty and friendship. Still, the war was far from won. Our next steps would take us across galaxies, rallying surviving allies, freeing worlds already under siege, and confronting the central mass of void corruption. My mind churned with the gravity of the task, yet I felt oddly uplifted. My days as a humble, aging mechanic were behind me, not erased, but woven into my new identity. I was James, yes, but I was also Terran Firebrand, conduit of ether. I carried the spirit of both lives within me. In the following weeks, Aria and I traveled from system to system in her vessel, seeking out pockets of survivors from the Celestial Watch. We found a handful of guardians who had managed to hold their ground, some valiantly defending small colonies from void encroachment, others working in secrecy to disrupt void networks from within. Each meeting was poignant, filled with relief at discovering we were not alone, and sorrow at the knowledge of how many had fallen. We ventured to the watery world of Azuria, where a guardian named Kiriel had formed an underwater refuge. There, subaquatic civilizations fought valiantly against monstrous, tentacled void abominations that infiltrated their reefs. My powers flared brilliantly in the watery depths, flames transmuted into a glowing plasma that sliced through the swirling darkness. Aria worked alongside Kiriel, channeling healing energies to restore the oceans that had been tainted. Our victory was not without cost, but we emerged triumphant, renewing hope among the beleaguered inhabitants. We traveled next to the desert planet of Arutha, a sun-scorched land of dunes and scorching winds. The people there had lost nearly all vegetation, their once flourishing oases reduced to barren craters. Under the direction of a guardian named Soliel, we performed a cleansing ritual to banish the void's influence from the planet's core. Golden flames erupted from my outstretched arms, scorching away dark crystals that had been siphoning the life force from beneath Arutha's sands. Soliel's own powers, reminiscent of gentle sunlight, coaxed the land back to fertility. Over the course of days, we witnessed a miracle, sprouts of green returning to the desert, water welling up in restored springs. The people wept tears of joy, hailing the guardians as saviors. Yet, even as we claimed these smaller victories, we knew the void was gathering its strength for a major offensive. Reports reached us of entire star systems falling silent, their inhabitants presumably consumed. Rumors of void dreadnoughts, colossal warships powered by stolen star cores, spread like wildfire. Time was short, and we needed to unite all willing forces under one banner. The final confrontation loomed on the horizon. Through ancient star charts and cosmic scrying, we determined that the void was massing at the rim of a black hole known as the Maw of Night. It was a place where the laws of physics bent under immense gravity, where the boundary between reality and oblivion grew thin. There, the void's war fleet gathered, preparing to unleash a catastrophic assault that could rend the fabric of the universe itself. And so, we rallied every ally we had: guardians, liberated races, cosmic wanderers. They came in droves, proud Azurians wielding aquatic sorcery, Orthan desert riders upon massive, genetically engineered beasts, starfaring nomads from the ghostly rings of Tau Ceti, and mechanical constructs endowed with artificial intelligence. Each species, each faction, contributed what they could. Our fleet assembled in the starry void, hundreds of vessels large and small, forming the greatest cosmic armada since the days of the old Celestial Watch. We arrived at the periphery of the Maw of Night to find the void's dreadnoughts arrayed like a swarm of malignant insects around a swirling vortex of cosmic dust and gravitational distortion. Enormous spires of black metal jutted from their hulls, pulsing with stolen energy. The black hole's gravitational pulse stretched the battlefield, distorting the stars. A hush of dread settled over our allied forces. I stood on the bridge of our newly equipped Guardian flagship, the Radiant Dawn. Aria was beside me, clad in ceremonial armor that shimmered like stardust. Max, outfitted in a protective harness, remained steadfast by my side, as though ready to leap into battle himself if required. The sight of our coalition stirred my heart. We were a tapestry of the universe, each thread unique, woven together by a shared desire to preserve life. With a resolute breath, I raised my arm. To all ships, I announced, my voice amplified by the Radiant Dawn's comm system. Stand firm. The void's hunger shall meet our collective light. We fight not just for ourselves, but for every star, every planet, every living soul. For the universe. A chorus of cheers and war cries erupted from the fleet. The void dreadnoughts roared to life, their spires igniting with crimson arcs of stolen starfire. Our ships surged forward, energy shields flaring in an array of dazzling colors. The ensuing battle was unlike any I had ever witnessed, spanning countless miles of cold vacuum. Lasers, plasma bursts, and cosmic beams crisscrossed the void, lighting up the darkness with lethal brilliance. Explosions blossomed silently in space, scattering debris and burning metal. My heart clenched each time one of our ships was struck, yet determination carried us forward. Amid the carnage, the Radiant Dawn engaged a colossal void dreadnought bristling with cannons. Aria directed the ship's main battery, channeling her power through specialized crystals that converted Guardian essence into potent weaponry. I unleashed wave after wave of golden fire from the hull's prismatic arrays, breaching the enemy's thick hull. Still, the dreadnought refused to yield, returning fire with savage intensity. The impact rocked our vessel, sparks flying from console panels. Max yelped as the deck shuddered, but remained at my side, unwavering. In a bold move, we maneuvered beneath the dreadnought, targeting the vulnerable underbelly. Aria coordinated with allied fighters, who harried the dreadnought's defenses while we concentrated our destructive power on a critical weak point. With a triumphant surge, our combined volley pierced the dreadnought's core. A chain reaction ignited, and the behemoth erupted in a silent, spacebound fireball of dark energy and twisted metal. Yet the fight was far from over. More void ships swarmed in, outnumbering us, and the black hole's gravitational pull threatened to drag friend and foe alike into its maw. Horrific shapes soared from within the black hole's accretion disk, monstrous void creatures thriving in the extreme environment. Our forces struggled to hold formation, battered by waves of darkness. As chaos reigned, I felt a powerful calling from within my chest, echoing with the memory of the rite of awakening. Something within me told me that if we could harness the combined essence of every guardian, we might unleash a cataclysmic purification wave, something strong enough to banish the void from this sector entirely. But the cost could be unimaginable. It would require each guardian to open themselves fully to the cosmic energies, risking a fatal overload. I voiced this possibility to Aria, who nodded grimly. It may be our only chance. If the void unleashes their full might here, we will be overrun. The universe itself could shatter. We sent out the call. Every guardian who could manage it, every champion who had awakened a piece of cosmic essence, should converge at the Radiant Dawn. I guided our ship away from the main fray, weaving through the swirling debris until we reached a position on the outskirts of the battlefield. There, we were joined by dozens of vessels carrying guardians from across the stars. They formed a perimeter around us, defending us against encroaching void squadrons. In the flagship's core, a massive focusing chamber hummed, lined with crystals reminiscent of those in Ethereum's temple. Aria and I entered this chamber, flanked by our fellow guardians. Kiriel the Azurian, Soliel the Sun-Touched, and others who had pledged their power. Each took a place around a central plinth that glowed softly, waiting to be activated. The energy in the air was electric, a kaleidoscope of different auras. The moment had come. With solemn determination, we raised our hands over the plinth, channeling our energies. I felt my body surge with the fiery might of creation, the golden-red flames dancing around my arms. Aria's azure brilliance mingled with mine, while Kiriel's liquid luminescence and Soliel's radiant sunlight wove into the tapestry. The other guardians contributed their strengths: green swirling winds, violet arcs of lightning, silver starlight. The combined energy rose in a pillar of light, pulsing with each breath we took. Outside, the void dreadnoughts closed in, unleashing fusillades that battered our protective shields. The Radiant Dawn groaned under the strain. But we did not waver. We poured our hearts, our souls, our very essence into that pillar of light, forging a single, cataclysmic beacon of cosmic might. My vision blurred with tears. I thought of my quiet life on Earth, the peaceful workshop, the rolling fields, the bark of my loyal dog. I thought of the countless souls across the galaxies, those I had known, and those I would never meet, whose fates depended on this moment. Drawing on that wellspring of love and responsibility, I gave everything I had. Suddenly, the pillar of light burst forth from the radiant dawn's hull in a monumental wave, sweeping across the battlefield. It enveloped void ships, dissolving their black spires, purifying them in cascades of luminous energy. The waves surged onward, unstoppable, into the swirling vortex around the black hole, scouring the cosmic darkness. The monstrous void entities wailed, their forms unraveling like shadows before dawn. The brilliance expanded, radiating outward in a dome that covered the entire sector. Then, just as quickly as it began, the light receded. Trembling, we Guardians sank to our knees. Our energies were nearly spent, our bodies weak from channeling such power. I felt as though I had aged 100 years in mere seconds. But I also felt a quiet triumph. On the flagship's external sensors, we watched the void dreadnoughts crumble, their remains drifting into the black hole's maw. The monstrous creatures vanished from our realm. The entire region of space now glimmered with renewed brilliance, as if the universe itself breathed a sigh of relief. A cheer rose from the Allied fleet. Messages poured in across the comm channels, voices jubilant and awestruck. Against impossible odds, we had driven the void from this critical stronghold. Though pockets of darkness might still remain scattered across the cosmos, the largest threat had been dismantled. The universe, for now, was safe from total corruption. Exhausted yet elated, we Guardians helped each other stand. Aria smiled at me through tears of relief. "We did it," she whispered. "We truly did." I offered her a weary grin, my mind drifting to Earth once more. "I never could have done this alone," I replied. "Thank you for awakening me. Thank you for reminding me of who I am." She embraced me, and in that moment, I felt the bond between all Guardians rekindled, a promise that we would remain vigilant for the sake of every living soul. Max bounded up, wagging his tail so hard his whole body wagged with it. I ruffled his ears, grateful beyond words that we had all survived. Once the battle was confirmed won, our combined forces dispersed to bring aid to planets still suffering void scars, to rebuild alliances across newly freed systems. Aria and I guided the Radiant Dawn on a route that would take me home for a brief respite. The day we returned to Earth was serene. The ship descended under the cover of a quiet evening sky, landing once again near my trusty workshop. My joints were still sore, my energies not yet fully replenished, but I felt content, gazing upon the familiar silhouette of my little town. Inside the workshop, little had changed. My tools lay where I'd left them, and Max's old chew toy still rested in a corner. Aria looked around with curious eyes, a gentle smile on her lips. "So this is your other home," she mused, brushing dust from a rusted workbench. "Yes," I said softly, inhaling the comforting sense of engine oil and old wood. "It's humble, but it's mine. And now it's yours too, if ever you need a place to rest." She turned to me, gratitude shining in her silver eyes. Across galaxies, we had fought side by side, and the bond forged in the crucible of cosmic war was unbreakable. Max bounded around, sniffing every corner as though to confirm we had truly returned. A sense of peace washed over me, a stark contrast to the raging conflict of days past. The universe was safe, at least for now, and I had found harmony between my two lives, James, the mechanic, and Terran Firebrand, the guardian. One day, I might be called again to distant stars, to stand against the void or some other looming threat. But I would answer without hesitation, secure in the knowledge that I was never truly alone. Night settled on the sleepy town, the same street lamp still flickering under the moonlight. After sharing a simple meal in the workshop, with Aria sampling earthly dishes for the first time and smiling at their rustic flavors, we sat quietly under the stars, letting Max doze by our feet. The cosmic horizon was out there, beckoning, full of mystery and wonder. Yet, in that moment, all I felt was contentment. The universe turned, infinite and alive, redeemed from darkness for a little while longer. And I, an old mechanic who had rediscovered his ancient birthright, stood ready to face whatever dawn would bring, heart brimming with new hope and old dreams. And so it was, under the gentle glow of a night sky, that an aging mechanic named James, once known as Terran Firebrand, the conduit of ether, found his second chance, his youthful vigor restored, and a renewed purpose lighting his path. A mysterious alien, a loyal dog, and a universe in peril had awakened him from life's twilight, reminding him that destiny could not be outrun, nor purpose denied. Though battles might loom on the cosmic horizon, he embraced his place among the stars with courage and compassion, ever ready to protect the countless lives he had sworn to defend. And there, in that small town on Earth, he found his happy ending and a new beginning.